just over a year since you stepped into this role as minister, since you were sworn in. Are you happy with it?
So glad that I'm here. There's a lot of, I call it theater, that happens in the House. The looking for, some sort of clip to throw up on socials or whatever it is on both sides, every side. That's not what it's about. What it's about, and the bottom line, is service.
Minister Marci Ien, Minister of Women, Gender Equality and Youth. Thanks so much for joining me.
I'm so happy to be with you. And the hot chocolate, just, hey.
I know many people know that we know each other.
We've known each other
from
well.
the past, and the title minister carries weight, but I know you as Marci. And even though we do have our past relationship, we do have a lot to talk about, and we're going to get into all of it. We're going to keep it on the real. There's a lot of people, who cheered you on as you made the decision to leave broadcasting to go into public service. It's not an easy road.
No.
We see it all the time. No. Parties bicker back and forth. There's challenges. There's personal attacks. There's all of those things. But looking back at the decision, are you happy with it?
Oh my gosh, it has been so hard. There are times I wake up in the morning and I go, what did I do? Because how am I going to serve everybody well, right? Anxiety kicks in, all of these things. But I am so glad that I'm here, that we're here. And when I say we're, my team, because for us, it's about service, right? There's a lot of, I call it theater, that happens in the House during question period, the blustering, the looking for, some sort of clip to throw up on socials or whatever it is on both sides, every side. That's not what it's about. What it's about, and the bottom line, is service. Because I'll be the first to say, Brandon, if people don't find that I'm serving them well, or that our team isn't, we shouldn't be here. But is it necessary for me to be here? Absolutely. Is it necessary to be at this table and part of this system to help disrupt it and challenge it? Absolutely. And we need more. And I hope, it's my sincere hope, that somehow I'm leading by example, and that others will choose to go this route because they saw that was possible. The other day, somebody wrote it down and said, just so you know, it's been a little over a year, but here's what we've done. And I looked at that, and I'm not even kidding, tears came. When you have it in front of you, and it's like, but we did this, and we did this, and there's tons more to do, but don't forget we did this. I'm feeling like we're in a good place.
What are you hearing from people as you walk down the street?
First and foremost, it's young people who say, so we can see ourselves now. And then there's young people who say, we need places to play. We need places to hang out. Some of us are getting arrested because we're on the streets and we don't have anywhere to go. Some people are saying, make sure that we can see ourselves in the places that we need to go for help, because cultural representation matters. There is sometimes a lack of communication, where there have been so many programs that are under our purview that smaller organizations just didn't even realize they had access to, or monies that were available, or supports that were available. 4 Black girls out of Montreal, Nicole, they just put on a Black Expo a couple of weeks ago that I got to go to, literally speed dating for young Black kids coming out of university and pairing them up with major corporate titans across this country and saying, tell me about you in 15 minutes or less. Yeah. That's amazing. That's a young Black woman out of Montreal who was supported through the Black Community Initiatives Fund, through Minister Hussein's ministry, was given $70,000+ to put on this thing, and the number of people that were there. But these are the things that we need to communicate better.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because we know that we're living through this affordable crisis, right? Like food prices are up, housing prices are up, it's affecting everybody, but it's also severely affecting caregivers, which are predominantly women. It's affecting their children, which are predominantly youth. all of which fall under your portfolio. I know that you talk about these supports that are out there, but is there enough being done to help folks right now?
There's always more to be done, Brandon. I was in Nova Scotia. I was at Acadia University, and I was doing an ECHO announcement for the fall economic statement. And what I zeroed in on was students, okay? But to permanently eliminate the interest on student loans and apprenticeships is a big thing. The mental stress that alleviates, right? I don't need to worry about this. I can focus on my studies. And the other part of this, international students. Saying we're no longer capping that 20-hour work week for them means a huge, huge opportunity there.
Right.
When it comes to rental support for low-income families, right? I sit there in the house and I listen to others who might say, it's $500, right? It's nothing. I'm sorry. In my constituency, and St. Jamestown is mostly apartment buildings, lot at in Regent Park 2, Moss Park, that means something.
And you're talking about the conservatives.
I am. I mean, it's frustrating, right? Like, you know, GST rebates. That's not a small thing. We're getting a national child care program out that is not easy to have provinces and territories sign on to that is going to reduce rates by thousands of dollars. Like you talked about women, single parent households, low income households period. Those are not small things. And I want to make sure that we concentrate on them because I see how they help my communities.
These are definitely supports that are going to target folks who are going through it hardest. But it does seem on the ground level, you know, people when they walk into the grocery store, that's what smacks them in the face first. And we continuously are hearing people blaming, and rightfully or wrongfully, sometimes it's the wrong politicians or the wrong level of government.
Listen, we all have to work together. So here's how we can work together, right? I've got Toronto Met in my riding. I have George Brown as well. I know that on the rooftops of a lot of the buildings at that university, they are growing food.
Right.
So here's what we're looking at, and this is community coming together, different levels of government. Where's that food going? I know that agricultural students come together with business students and food is sold and there are markets and people buy the food. What if we could have some of that food and get it down to the communities that need it? What would it look like if that food had no cost whatsoever or minimal cost for families that needed it? Because we know food, yes, but the kind of food, right? Because there are food deserts and there are different things like that. Restaurants, what do you have left over? What do you have left over? How can we use that? Listen, I'm willing to work with anybody at any time, and we are.
So what is the level of, or the atmosphere, I should say, in Ottawa right now? I mean, polls show, and I'm not the one who really loves polls.
No, but go ahead, speak the polls.
But they're saying that, you know, Pierre Poilievre is riding a wave right now, and that he is gaining popularity. How do the Liberals address that angst that people are feeling?
It's continuing to do what we're doing, and that's seeing people where they are. I'm going to draw us back to the pandemic for a second and the supports that came and were in place, because I can't tell you how many business people, small business, women-led businesses, racialized business owners say, we wouldn't have made it through without those supports, right? From a financial perspective, and believe me, I am not a financier, but I do know this, that inflation is a global phenomenon. I know that that's not what people want to hear when they can't eat, right? But we have to look at that because we need to know that we are in hard times. The hard times will continue. How long, we don't know, but we're in it, right?
Do you think the Liberals should intervene with the Bank of Canada because they've risen interest rates so much?
The Bank of Canada is an independent entity. And for the Conservative leader to talk the way he does about scrapping the Bank of Canada, that's an independent entity. Okay, you do away with the Bank of Canada, the governor of the Bank of Canada, and you recommend that people invest in Bitcoin. If people had fully put their savings into that platform, as per the leader of the Conservative Party, they would have lost 65 to 70% of their income. We've got to look at what people need, right? But how to do it in a smart, responsible way. You asked me about mandate first year. So I'm looking at this list, right? And it's literally almost bringing me to tears because I'm seeing the first ever 2S LGBTQI plus action plan that this country has ever seen.
That was historic.
And I'm
that
seeing,
was a historic announcement.
Right? But then it's the work.
Is that what you're most proud of over the last year? That action plan?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have an initiative that you're the most proud of?
I am so proud of that 2S LGBTQI plus action plan. I'm so proud of the action plan to end gender-based violence too. But that 2S LGBTQI plus action plan, some of the first people that I talked to were from that community when I became an MP. And I will and we will always continue to fight and be a voice for those that don't have one that's as loud as mine or as loud as ours.
What does the next 2 years look like for you?
Who's to know? I didn't even know these last 2 years were coming, let alone. Oh my goodness. It is
When you look at your crystal ball, is there anything that you want to see come to fruition? Do you have plans? Any other targets you want to hit?
So disaggregated data, disaggregated data, disaggregated data, and more disaggregated data.
And why?
Because we need to see how Black, Indigenous, and racialized communities are disproportionately impacted, and numbers show that.
And why is it important to have those numbers show that?
Because then we know how to make policy. I can scream from the mountaintops. I need money for the 2S LGBTQI plus community. I need money for racialized communities. I need money for young people. I need money when those things intersect. I really need money for those people, rural, those with disabilities. If I have the numbers to back that up, I'm able to then put monies towards that. That disaggregated data is a thing because those numbers aren't there. It's starting to come, but everything was women, right? It's like, well, which women are we talking about, right? Are we talking about Indigenous women? Are we talking about Black women? It's important to hold people accountable because people are hurting, right? And hungry and wanting just to do the best for their families. I will never stop working, ever. Whether I'm in this job or not, I will never stop working for these things that we're working on right now.
Minister Marci Ien, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Hey BG Squad, thanks so much for checking out our channel. And listen to this, we have more great content for you, like this video right here and this video right here. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now and tap that notification bell.